various types of audits. The first, it starts with initial certification audit of management system. And a management system initial certification is performed in two stages, stage 1 and stage 2. Stage 1 is also called adequacy audit. We check the adequacy of documentation, adequacy of documented information. See, ISO 9000 standard requires certain amount of documentation, certain mandatory documented information. For example, scope, objectives, for example, mandatory documented information, for example, policy, all those kind of things. So mandatory documented informations are available or not. So whether organization is ready for the stage 2 audit, that's the whole idea for stage 1 audit. And then stage 2 audit. In stage 2 audit, we check implementation of management system documentation. In the first place, we see is the organization ready with the documentation as required by the standard. In stage 2, we see effective implementation of quality management system, including the documented informations. Once the certification is done, then we perform annual surveillance audit, generally annual. Surveillance audit is to ensure that the organization is following and continuously maintaining the quality management system or management system. If we are doing quality management system audit, by doing a surveillance audit, we verify whether the organization is maintaining their quality management system. If it is occupational health and safety, we check whether their occupational health and safety management system is being maintained in accordance with the relevant standard, which is 45001. If it is environmental management system, we look at whether the organization is maintaining their environmental management system in accordance with 14001. So surveillance audit is to ensure the continued maintenance of management system. Then after a period, so normally there are two surveillance audits. It is not hard and fast that the certification has to be given for 3 years period, but generally certification is given for 3 years, term, subject to annual surveillance audit. So after 12 months, you are going to do one surveillance audit, surveillance 1. After another 1 year, you are going to do surveillance 2. On the third year, you are doing a recertification audit. Recertification audit is basically for the purpose of renewal of the management system after the initial certification period expires. Certain organizations are giving certification for 1 year also. So every year they have to continue surveillance audit and renew their certification. So it's a matter of agreement with the customer and the certification body. But generally it is for 3 years period. Special audits. Special audits are performed for special purposes. For example, extension of scope or expanding the scope of certification. For example, there is a case, we have audited a company when they were basically a trading company. Their main business was trading. They were supplying valves and materials to oil and gas companies and other clients. Over a period of time, they have included construction also. So they became a contracting company in the domain of civil engineering. So they started building civil structures and so on. So from a trading company, the scope was expanded to civil engineering contracts. Over a period of time, they included mechanical engineering contracts also. So their scope was further extended to contracting into civil and mechanical engineering fields, including trading services. So like that, when you are expanding your scope of work, which can always happen, the organization is growing. Horizontally, they are growing, so they can add more scope into their certification. So this is done in scope expansion audit. Short notice audit. There is no place of surprise in the audit, excepting in short notice audit. Short notice audit is an audit which is of course a matter of agreement with the customer and the certification body. What happens? There are certain circumstances when the certification body is forced to perform an audit in a short notice. It could be even unannounced audit on a surprise in certain circumstances. It is one of the most extreme case, but this should be part of a contract agreed with the certification client and the certification body. Why is it done? Imagine there is a big news of big product recall by an organization which was certified by a certification body, or there is a huge big flaw detected in the product and in the public domain. You know that this company has been sued and their operation is being suspended. The company is hanging because of their legal violations and so on and so forth. And legal compliance is one of the requirements of ISO 9001 and any other management system standard. For example, you have certified an organization to ISO 9001 and you came to know from the public domain that there is a court case against this company for huge product flaw. There has been a lot of companies, a lot of individuals have sued this company for faulty products and services. So your company logo, your accreditation body's logo is being used by that organization. So your reputation of the certification body is at risk. So the certification body deserves the right to perform a short notice audit. It could be as low as 1 day notice or 2 days notice or 3 days notice. And you go to perform a follow up and see what is the situation. It is more of an investigative in nature, but you have to exercise good control because as an organization, when you are going to audit your client organization, there is an element of acceptance of the auditor by the client. In this particular case, there is no chance for the certification client to raise an objection if they have got any reason to object to engagement of a particular auditor. Therefore, you have to be very, very careful that there is no conflict of interest and you have taken all those precautions before assigning the team for a short notice audit. Suspension, withdrawing, and reducing the scope of certification is another type of audit. What happens is when an organization is not allowing the certification body to perform a surveillance audit days after days, and you know that they are not cooperating and they are really using or misusing the certification granted on trust by the certification body, and they are not allowing, they are blatantly violating the norm of products and service provisions, and you are getting a lot of complaints, and they are not allowing you to even perform a short notice audit or a surveillance audit. So you may be forced to give a notice of suspension. And if they are not still acting on this, you may have to withdraw the certification. Sometimes an organization has wider scope of work and they've reduced some of the scope. One case it happened, one organization we have certified was a trading company and they had a courier division with them, courier service division. And this courier service division has been actually discontinued and they closed their operation. So in the beginning, they were making porta cabins, they were trading, and they had also a courier division, courier service division. And we have removed the courier service division from their scope of certification. So these kind of special circumstances can happen.